sacrifice for it. We will not surrender for it now or ever. We must realize that no weapon in the arsenals of the world is so formidable as the will and moral courage of free men and women. It is a weapon our adversaries in today's world do not have. It is a weapon that we as Americans do have. With God's help, we can and will resolve the problems which now confront us. And after all, why shouldn't we believe that? We are Americans. At the grave of a hero, we end not with sorrow at the inevitable loss, but with the contagion of his courage, and with a kind of desperate joy, we go back to the fight.
Hi, I'm Thomas Musto, and I'm going to the United States Navy.
Is this the country that our founding fathers envisioned? On July 4th, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was signed by founding fathers John Hancock, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, and 53 others, and was formally adopted by the Continental Congress. This would be the first document officially severing political ties with Great Britain, defying one of the most powerful countries in the world in their quest to freedom. During their 7 years of fighting in the American Revolution, people were ready to be freed from the greedy hands of Great Britain, but they had no idea of the turmoil in present and future times that this would cause. 224 years have passed since the United States of America was declared free from any foreign rulers, only being led by the ones they elected on their own free will. Not only has leadership changed 44 separate times, but our country advances as does our world. It is not the same place it was all of those years ago when it was a fight against Great Britain. It is now not only a fight against the world, but also against ourselves. While we cannot say for certain what the Founding Fathers could have envisioned for our country, it is most certainly not what it has become. Our views on racism, misogyny, and general acceptance have changed in the last few hundred years, and they've changed for the better. It would be easier to name the Founding Fathers that didn't own slaves versus the ones who did, and it would also be easier to say that racism is a problem of the past than admit it's a current problem and face the music. One thing that can be learned from U.S. history is that nothing was ever accomplished easily. We didn't gain independence or free the slaves by finding an easy road. Our values and freedom have never been able to be something we cease fighting for. Our country has fought in 5 major wars, and even when it's not us in trouble, we're still fighting for someone. Whether it was Operation Morning Light in 1977 or Operation Enduring Freedom in response to the 9/11 terrorist attacks, racism is still a huge problem in not only the U.S. but the world, and not something the Founding Fathers ever fought for. Their envision of our country was probably imagined with the continued use of slaves, and thankfully that's not how history panned out. So while it's not what they wanted, it's the best it's ever been. The first Women's Rights Convention was held on July 19th and 20th in 1848 in Seneca Falls, New York, almost 100 years after the founding of the United States. On August 18, 1920, after Tennessee became the 36th state to ratify the 19th Amendment, it was officially adopted, prohibiting the federal government and states to deny voting rights based on sex. This was only 100 years ago. Not only that, but women only entered the workforce when supply demands weren't being met during World War II in the 1940s, 80 years ago. Even in current times, women are still fighting for things like equal pay and being seen as more than just a body, but a person. And up until the 60s, women were mainly trapped in the house. Some were able to go to school, but even then they weren't taken seriously. Some people still hold the viewpoint that women shouldn't be working or belong in the house, taking care of the men, which is where the jokes about women belonging in the kitchen come from. Women have carved a path for themselves away from all the misogyny and defied social standards in history to do so. In the 224 years as a society, we have generally become more accepting of each other and less xenophobic and homophobic. The United States has one of the largest populations of people from other countries, along with the natives who still live here. While the prejudice will never fully go away, we've started to accept and celebrate people for their differences as a person and as a culture. The first Pride Parade was 50 years ago in June of 1970 and has been celebrated every year since. And every year it is met with more and more acceptance than before. While there is still speculation that some famous historical people were gay or bisexual with seemingly proof through letters or other documents, they wouldn't have dared to come out. To some people today, homosexuality is still considered wrong, so it must have been unimaginable then for them to not only come out, but to keep their rights in doing so. This is not the country that the Founding Fathers envisioned for the land they fought so hard and suffered great losses for. But in the country moving farther and farther away from their vision, the better it became. It is no longer the extremely racist, misogynistic, and xenophobic country that they created, but one that, while not perfect, and fighting for equality and getting closer to it all the time. History doesn't have to define stories of ourselves or our country, but we can use them to shape a better future for us.